Good evening, teachers and educationists. A warm welcome to all of you. I'm Priyanka Mukherjee. With a legacy of hundreds of years and a presence in 170 plus countries, the mission statement of Cambridge University Press and Assessment has been to contribute to society through education, learning, and research. We explore, we collaborate, and we connect with each other to spread knowledge, spark inquiry, and aid understanding. And our team is one connected global community pursuing excellence and moving forward together. Teachers of Tomorrow is our ardent endeavor to foster a vibrant community of teachers and educationists where they can and learn from each other. And also in the process, seek guidance from the leading experts in this domain. And webinars provide us that opportunity to learn from each other, to learn from leading educationists, and also to learn about the implementation of that learning. And it is my honor and pleasure to have amongst us Dr. Snehal Pinto, a name that needs no introduction in the world of education. She is the director of the Rhine International Group of Institutions, India's largest privately owned chain of K 12 institutions. With a doctorate in education, she has been prolific for more than 2 decades in various capacities in education and leadership. Her repertoire as an education thought leader is reflected in the myriad accolades that she has received from the government of India as well as on the international arena. She's an ardent believer of the fact that teachers hold the key to shaping India's most valued asset, human resource. This topic today ties up beautifully with this core belief, nurturing polymathic minds, a path to further to future ready education. Thank you so much, ma'am. Welcome. The floor is all yours, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. It is my privilege to be here. Um, on behalf of Rhine Group, I bring your greetings to each one who is attending this platform. Our Teachers of Tomorrow is, I heard about the vision of why do you want to do this? And I was heartened to hear that it is to build a community of learners, um, which will enable, empower, equip, and really fill in the capacity need. So, congratulations to you all on this effort. And thank you for bringing us together. My submission at the outset, and I'm going to put a disclaimer, is although we are although we are supposed to know everything or as an expert, thank God that we each one of us are a work in progress. And I'm grateful for learning every day. I am grateful that as teachers, it is incumbent on us to be lifelong learners. Um, and therefore, I'm going to just submit some of the reflections that I was inspired by from this book, Polymath by Waqas Ahmed. And I hope that you will accommodate some of the reflections that I have for you today. Um, although the topic seems like pretty heavy sounding, it really is simple. And I'd like to just share this screen now. Cultivating a polymathic minds for and really getting future ready citizens. And my submission is, firstly, we need to know what is a polymathic mind. And I'm not sure if you have looked up the word, but really is a simple thing. Polymathic is comes from the Greek word. Um, it means poly, that's many, and math is learning. So, a person of diverse learning, someone who has interests in diverse fields and has achieved in depth learning for the same. And one of the things is, what implications does it have for us as educators then? Uh, for us to understand what a polymathic mind is, if I can just take you back into history, I want you to think of just about two, three entities or individuals who created history with their work. And let's take the Renaissance. Would you be able to? Do we have the chat on, Priyanka? Would you be able to think of someone who has achieved a great deal during the Renaissance? And we know, correct. Thank you, Albert. You make my life easier. Leonardo da Vinci, uh, one of the most famous polymaths. And why is he famous? Because this legend was not just a talented engineer. This one, he dissected the human anatomy. He designed helicopters way ahead of the times, created masterpieces like the Last Supper and the Mona Lisa. And it's things like these that make you reflect. In those times, they didn't have conventions of schooling. They learned, they picked up, they learned the field, they achieved in depth knowledge. And I'm so glad you watched a documentary. They achieved in depth knowledge, as well as they didn't just learn in silos, but they connected the dots. They synergize the learning from diverse disciplines and contributed meaningfully in the output. So whether it was a painting, whether it was an engineering marvel, they contributed meaningfully. Similarly, you have our own Indian in Rabindranath Tagore. He didn't just write, but in through literature and art. He also started the Shantiniketan Vishwabharati University that made made us a hub of learning in India. And he later took up paintings and did masterpieces. And it is this ability to connect um, different subject areas, synergize, and then create. And that is cultivating a polymathic spirit, an attitude, a mindset. And I promise you, within our classrooms, we have students who are likely polymaths. We just have to identify that. In modern day, would you know of any name that kind of demonstrates a polymathic sense of approach in their work? Um, I think of Elon Musk. Whether you have the Neuralink, whether you have the Tesla, whether you have the SpaceX, it is people like these, Bill Gates, and of course many of the names. Now we have to understand there are people who are geniuses like Einstein, and then there are people like Da Vinci and Musk who didn't just think of learning in silos and specializing in that, but they created something of their learning across the different spheres and created something in one field. So, the old adage of jack of all and master of none, it's time to turn it around and look at it as jack of all and maybe master of one. And for us as educators, we have implications for that. Um, in our classrooms, we create space for that kind of thinking, for that kind of pursuit of learning. We, of course, because we are bound by systemic frameworks and conventions, we have been limited to almost subscribing to the norm and having our children go through the entire schooling period learning in silos. Of course, we have the IB, doing their bit in changing the way we learn. However, largely across the world, we still have our children subscribing to learning in silos. But this generation has their learning needs that if we don't cater to, they will they will cause us to be irrelevant. They drive the need for us to change. They drive the need to find their change. They want to change. They want to contribute to the world. But if we don't facilitate their pursuit of knowledge, they will find avenues. And that is why cultivating that approach of learning, allowing space for mistakes, allowing space for children to pursue their passions is important within our classrooms. Yes, we have syllabi to accomplish, but within that, do we have the autonomy for them to not just learn topics and concepts, but also do more in terms of taking action, reading more, or finding out something more? And that is why our role has come to almost say undergone a change. We have had to change ourselves as educators. One of the reasons individuals who are polymath are so important is because the kind of expertise they can bring to the table is timely for our generation, for our interconnected society that has complex issues. And because they have a need to contribute, they want to serve and not necessarily solve all the problems, but they are activists by nature. They have a cause and they want to ensure that cause. It is important for us to make that space. It is important for us to focus on them, the being. Very often, they can figure out solving problems. And in us encouraging them to research, figure their solutions, we make space for complex problem solving. We make space for them to develop their problem solving skills, allow that sense of, multidisciplinary approach, interdisciplinary sense of innovation, where we have them connecting the dots. We get them to be resilient and adapt. And all of this won't be possible if there is an atmosphere of uncertainty in the classroom or instability. And that's why it's important for us to provide that. And who better than us? Because although learning begins at home, we have the key, or we are the key, we are the catalyst that can almost create space for transformation of the being, of the child in the classroom. That one spark, that one sense of inspiring action is enough for them to get started. And as we encourage them and teach them not to give up, because one of the things that I have kind of made out patterns from reading is the fact that each one of these polymaths were persistent, they were determined, they were resilient. And in doing so, they accomplished creation of something new, something that would impact mankind and change it forever. And that calls for nurturing the vision and encouraging leadership skills. And one of our own polymaths is Dr. Kalam. He's my favorite one because the missile man of India, he did not just, he was a people's leader. He did not just inspire scientists and people coming towards science and tech, but he also almost empowered many to towards education and learning as a whole. And that is why it is so important. And it is so important, therefore, yeah, these are your famous polymaths. And the next one, the third lady is Florence Nightingale. Yeah, the next one, please. Yep. Uh, he did not just encourage youth towards education, but he inspired them to action. The next slide, please. And that is why it is important for us, the implications of why polymath matters in the 21st century. But if you see the sign in between, um, more than all of it, it is incumbent on us, the teacher, after home, to ensure that all of this enables them to find fulfillment. And we can't box our children and have them empowered. It is important, therefore, to make space. And I keep saying this again and again because each one of us is so uniquely gifted and endowed with multiple, multifaceted skills and talents. The synergy of that is so powerful to create something that can change mankind, something that can help us as a community. That is why it is important that at the heart of it all, that we are after their well-being. And in almost facilitating this empowerment within the classroom, where we are nurturing creative ideas, where there is, it's okay to fail, um, but keep moving forward. Think of something else. Um, I think it was this great scientist who said, I did not fail 99 times. I found 99 other ways to find that solution after succeeding that last one. So it is moments like these that matter to children. Learning is most powerful when associated with the emotional experience that almost affirms their being, that almost encourages them to forge ahead and find a way to solutions, to creation, and to also inspire action in others. It's about paying it forward. May I have the next slide, please, Priyanka? And therefore, how do we do this? It's not something that all of you are not already doing in some measure or the other. But imagine the power when, at the end of it, you see that last line. Yeah, we spark curiosity, we foster exploration, we promote interdisciplinary learning adventures. And I found getting to know one another across the world. Learning can transcend boundaries, just like art and music, and just encouraging that. Uh, Balancing the depth and the breadth of knowledge, and of course nurturing problem solving skills, but more than anything, enabling them to have a growth mindset, where the threshold of their tolerance for failure, for rejection, only keeps increasing because we scaffold that sense of being. And that is why it is so important that we play the role of a catalyst in their lives. May I have the next slide, please? We play the catalyst of role in their lives. And there's something I read, um, and I'll just read it to you. The polymathic quest is a human endeavor deeply etched and rooted in our innate desire to understand the world around us and to have a meaningful impact on it. It is a testament to our boundless creativity and insatiable curiosity and our relentless pursuit of excellence. A mind that is stretched by new experiences can never go back to its old dimensions. And I pray this will be the testimony of our students within the classroom and beyond, where they're constantly exploring, learning, creating, contributing, impacting, and really sharing it across so that together we rise and make a difference to the world that we want to live in. And that brings me to the end of this presentation. I'm glad it came on eventually. Thank you, Priyanka, for that.
Thank you, ma'am. I think
Oh,
a very
I
profound. Yes,
sorry.
ma'am. Please
No,
tell.
I am just encouraged with the comments, and thank you for looking it up and contributing to this. I was just going through it, and I wish I could just take it all in, but I'm sure I will get the recording of this.
Absolutely,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
And so with all the participants. So, participants, this is the perfect time to take this profound thought forward. Would love to hear any Q&A from your end. Any questions that come up to your mind, please share in the Q&A section. So, ma'am, we have the first question. How polymath in education can be introduced? How a teacher with limitation of capabilities and adaptabilities can improve this situation is a question from Ashken.
So thank you for that. I think one of the fallacies we are limited by resources, not necessarily limited by human potential and the will to overcome. I don't believe that. I believe everyone is gifted with you know potential and skill and talent. With the right environment as leaders, for us it's incumbent on us then to create the right environment for our teachers then to pursue new learning. And if we can make there are professional development needs where once we audit and we get to know what they need, really identify their strengths. We are often, because as a society, we are quick to see what's not there, we fail to see what we already have and how we can leverage or use it. Are we going to get it all right? No. But if we can complement, if we can say mentor, put them in a mentoring relationship and association with the other colleagues, where iron sharpens iron. You kind of help each other then to pursue learning. Resources can be limited, but I have seen some wonderful teachers in the most obscure of towns and villages within our nation, in India itself, where they have used nature, they have used things that they have at hand uh, to transact the teaching learning experience, to make learning enjoyable. Um, and I don't believe teachers are not willing to adapt, or they may be inadequate at it. It's just that there's been a lack of exposure. And as leaders, if we can expose them, like there are platforms like these that can empower them, listening, watching, doing, three learning styles. And if we can just get together and actually within the school first create that need for change and actually change instead of just saying it, doing it, I think we'll make a start somewhere. Action and documentation is key. If you can document it, if you can record it somewhere, so that it becomes a reference point for you, I think it would be very helpful um, to cultivate. And first, we need to, I do believe, as teachers, we need to identify the polymaths amongst us. It is important. Like it's one thing to learn our subject matter, but it's another thing to sit together with other subject teachers and connect the dots. And it can start small, but it has to start. If we can make that beginning within our sections, our grades, our classrooms, and our schools, I know that we start almost detangling notions and assumptions and just bring down the walls that can limit us wanting to learn further. I do believe every one of us is blessed with aspiration, just at different levels. Just cater to that, just fuel that fire.
So wonderful, ma'am. Wonderful way of gaining perspective, ma'am. There's a plethora of questions coming up, but
Wow.
we have to stick to the time. But I'll still try to accommodate two more questions. One is polymathy an innate gift, or is it cultivated and developed? If it is cultivated and developed, how can we balance it in a hybrid classroom with various gifts and energy levels?
Wow, that's a mouthful of a question. Can I take it little bit by bit?
Yes.
Uh, I don't think Da Vinci, Rabindranath Tagore, or Dr. Kalam ever knew that they were polymaths. I don't think any one of us go about knowing that we are or we are not. I think the important thing for us is now that we are aware that this is a concept that exists, this is something that exists, to start seeing differently and identifying those. I do believe some of it is innate, but it can be cultivated as well. It all depends on your desire for learning. Um, there are many kinesthetic kids amongst us, and there are more and more of this generation I've seen are more into, we want to pursue music, we want to pursue art, I want to read as well, I want to do a bit of bio, I want to design stuff. It is cultivating uh, that skill, that mindset, rather than boxing them to, in a hybrid classroom, this is what we are given. In a offline classroom, what the teacher transacts is what I receive. Instead of just, and that's why there's so many learning strategies now that almost put the agency on the student uh, to be a part of the learning process. And if we can leverage that, um, will we get it at first shot? No. That's why I said it's important for us as teachers first to identify. And you will always find a polymath. Often they get misunderstood as kids who don't pay attention to one thing. But if we can just change the way we perceive things and people, really, we may have made a way for understanding that what if this kid is gifted to just learn across the diverse fields and make the connection? What if I can challenge this child to create something of their learning? Often they learn the syllabi, and then we are content with assessing them on that, and then we move on. But there are very few amongst them who will take that learning further, goaded by the teacher or encouraged by the teacher, saying, okay, go on, uh, find out, read more, come back. The thing is, we have to be purposeful and intentional about this whole process. If you want to cultivate polymaths in our system, we have to be intentional and purposeful. Because if we are not, we can get caught up in the combative thing of everyday life. We just have each thing, each class, each grade to go through, corrections, planning, assessment, and we go on to the next year. And we have subscribed to the norm. And that's why I heard someone challenge me in terms of, do schools nurture creativity or do they suffocate it? And that's a challenge to us, really, because children will find avenues. Our children, are this generation and the generations, will find avenues to almost fulfill their potential. Point is, I want to play a role in facilitating that process. Will I do that?
I think that was really insightful, ma'am. And in the interest of time, we just can accommodate one question. And audience, thank you for being so enthusiastic. There is a repeated request, ma'am, that is there any material or reference resources that teachers
Sure.
can look at, and
Look
so
at,
that they can instill these concepts in students? That's the question, ma'am.
so I think for us, firstly, if we can understand what it involves, there's a book called The Polymath by Waqas Ahmed. Um, I will just get that for you. Yeah, The Polymath, Unlocking the Power of Human Versatility by Waqas Ahmed. It's a Wiley publication. I would encourage everyone to read this book. And that's why I was like, listen, we all are doing, what are the different ways to make our lessons more creative, plan them, assessment, all of this is happening. But that's why I was so taken up with this whole concept. I said, I must share it. Do I know it all? No, absolutely not. I've just discovered this and I was excited to share it across. And I would suggest if we can just put together things that we come across, resources or any more reference materials, I would suggest this, this is a platform. Let's bring it together. Let's learn from each other. And that's why I'm so heartened to be on this platform. I thank, I don't take this privilege for granted. I thank Jesus for this opportunity to even be able to serve. So thank you.
So thank you, everybody, for joining in a Wednesday evening. You have taken time out of your busy schedule for joining in. Thank you so very much. And Dr. Snehal Pinto, I think we are indebted to you for bringing out this concept that will hopefully impact learners, teachers, and learners alike in the days ahead. I know how busy your schedule is, ma'am, and I know you have another engagement post this, but nonetheless, we are very, very grateful, ma'am, for you taking out time and sharing this with all of us. Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you everyone for joining in and for the enthusiastic participation and wonderful responses.
Yeah, I'm just
Thank you,
actually
ma'am.
going through this. Thank you so much for all your comments and even your contribution. I am very taken up with this one question of can an autistic, how to make an autistic child as a polymath learner, Japal, and that is something I will want to read further before I come to you. Can an autistic child be a polymath? I don't see why not. How to make one, I don't know. I think it's about just encouraging learning across diverse disciplines. If they enjoy learning something, let them go forward and then, keep doing tinkering with their hands and then allow them, keep access open to another discipline of learning and let them explore that further. I think that is a good start for us. Yeah. So thank you so much for having me. I'm really encouraged to be here.